Okay, we're recording, so be careful. Right, let's go through a few answers. So we've got to set up ratios, okay, and then simplify them. The whole point of doing this is to then be able to make further calculations. Right. So let's just have a look at question 4 together. So she mixes 600 millilitres of orange with 900 millilitres of apple juice to make a fruit drink. Write the ratio of orange juice to apple juice in its simplest form. Now, one thing I will tell you, and it does matter, is it's 600 millilitres of orange, okay, and then we have 900 millilitres of apple, and we have to make sure this question's done nicely, but it's ratio of orange to apple. So we've got to get it the right way around. Alright, does that make sense? So if it said apple to orange, you'd have to write the ratio the other way around. Which means that the ratio we should have is 600 to 900 to start with. Okay, that's in millilitres. Right? But in simplest form, well, we're going to go 6 to 9 straight away. And then we can just do divide by 3 gives us 2 to 3. Now, what does that mean about the mixing of orange juice and apple juice?
There's more apple juice in orange.
There's more apple juice in orange, always. Okay? But what it also means, have you ever heard the word so many parts of one thing to so many parts of another? Okay? Now that means that the word parts, it relates to ratios. That means you've got 2 parts orange to 3 parts apple. So what that means is if I want to use 500 millilitres of orange, how many millilitres of apple would I need to use? So 500 millilitres of orange is 2 parts. So what's 1 part? 250. So that would tell me then how much I would need of apple. So I need 3 parts, which would be 750. So that's where we're heading to with our ratio. So that we go back to simplest form, so then I can work out any combination that I need to. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why we're doing it. So then we've got builder mixes 10 shovels of cement with 25 shovels of sand. Write the ratio of cement to sand, so it's alright, we're in the right order. So we've got, obviously, 10 to 25, but in its simplest form, 2 to 5. Okay, divide both by 5. Okay. In the form 1 to n, so it's 1 to 2.5. And in the form n to 1, so we've got a 1 there, 0.4. Okay. Good. Easy enough. Yeah. So again, what does that mean for the builder? So he does 10 shovels with 25 shovels because he needs a lot of cement. Alright? But if he only had, well, could he make cement really and do 1 shovel of cement? How many shovels of sand would he need?
I guess for 1 shovel of cement, he would need 2.5 shovels of sand.
Yeah, he'd need 2.5 shovels of sand, which might be a bit hard to measure. You know, half a shovel. What's half a shovel look like? You know, 1's easy enough. So but it does help you calculate everything else. Okay. Have you all done 6?
Yes.
Okay. So again, 300 grams of butter, 800 grams of flour, butter to flour, so we're fine. So you've got 300 to 800, simplest form. Yeah.
3 to 8.
3 to 8. Yeah. Evening. Right. B in the form 1 to n. 1 to
2.67.
2.67.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, we might, this would be a good chance, Tristan, to look like you want to be here, to work with fractions, because this side would actually be 8 over 3. Yeah? And that as a fraction or a mixed number would be 2 and 2/3 left over. So I could write that as an exact number now. Now you might find that all your answers, if we looked in the answer bit, it would be 2.66 or 2.6 recurring or 2.67, but you guys are of such high ability in maths that we're going to start thinking, well, fractions are the correct way to work. Can you remind me why a fraction like 2 and 2/3 is better than writing 2.67?
Because if you wrote that fraction in decimals, say, it would be an irrational number because it will keep
It's
on.
not irrational, because irrational can't be written as a fraction, and we have a fraction. So, Tatiana?
If you write with a fraction, it will be more accurate.
Why more accurate? Because what have you done to the decimal?
Because you rounded it.
Because you have to round the decimal. Or use recurring notation or whatever, but it's not necessarily perfectly accurate. Okay? So in the same way then, what would we do if we've got n to 1? What would that be? Sushi?
In n to 1, we would just divide 900 by 300. So 300.
Or 3
Sorry,
divided by
3.
8, which is 2.66, is it? 3 divided by 8, Archie.
0.325.
0.325?
I think it's 0.375.
Yeah, that's what I got.
7.5. Well, because 3
Oh, yeah.
divided by 8, I think
0.38.
1/8 is one of those I seem to remember is 0.125. No?
I got 0.375, but the line of the.
Oh, so you didn't read it properly. Okay. So we've got 3/8.
0.375,
Or
and it would be 0.38.
Well, no, let's not round. If it's exactly with 3 decimal places, let's not round and make it. Let's either have 3/8 or 0.375. Okay? Unless you're specifically asked to round to 2 decimal places in the question, let's try and keep as accurate as we can. If it's one that you feel you need to round because it goes on forever, like 2.66, let's write it as a fraction instead. Okay? Let's keep that, the quality of our work up. Okay, have you done question 7?
Yeah.
Yeah? Have you done 8?
No.
9? No. Well, let's have a look at 7 and then I'll let you get back to it. So question 7, 850 pupils, 40 teachers, simplest form, so we just start with 850 right to 40. Any comments about that? Sushi?
First, one would notice that the first half of the ratio is bigger than the second half.
And what does that matter?
I guess it will be a bit different when we're doing 1 to n and n to 1.
Yeah. Okay, but we've got the same. It doesn't really matter which side is bigger or smaller. We're going to get that, but there's something in that that's an issue. Luke? Okay. There is a problem. Read the question. Kim?
I don't know.
You don't know. Is it?
It says right the ratio of teachers to
Pupils.
pupils.
Yeah. Do you remember I said
Oh.
teachers to pupils? And it gives it as pupils and teachers. So this is actually incorrect. We should have 40 to 850. Okay? Alright, remember I said it has to be written one way up, and it's good they chuck that in to make sure you're reading the question properly. And it does matter. Alright? Because you're going to read teachers to pupils, and if it's this way round, it'd be like 850 teachers and only 40 pupils. Can you imagine? So, in simplest form, let's start with 4 to 85. Does it simplify any further?
No.
No? Okay. And then in the form 1 to n, so it's one teacher. So basically, this is what we do. Actually, this is a real reality situation. There is a limit to how many of you can be with one of me on a trip or skiing or something like that. I think it's normally on a trip. It's like 1 to 10. All right. So that means that there must be one teacher to every 10 students. With skiing, I think it's something like 1 to 8. Right, so what have we got here? So 1 to 85 is actually 1 to what?
21.25.
21.25. 85 divided by 4. Okay, 1 to 21.25. So on a trip, that wouldn't be allowed. But in a classroom, well, not in St George's because we don't get that far, but you know, that's normal. Okay, all right.
In India, you have classes with sometimes 36 students.
I had 35 in England.
We just had one class per year.
Yeah,
So it was like
I had
32.
so some people have like 100, but we had a teacher's assistant. With
Yeah.
like
That's
Yeah, we're just lucky because we have I have heard before that maybe it is in India or Pakistan or something, or in Asia somewhere else, that they have one teacher at the front of a big hall of people with like 100 people, and they have a microphone, and then they have teaching assistants going around.
That's
I have heard. Anyway, so this is done. Now, can I just say one thing before I let you get on? Some of you are on this question now.
Yeah.
So, it's quite an important one, because obviously you're going to use this in another subject. And this is a normal question to be asked in maths questions, in geography. Right? A map is drawn with a scale of 1 to 50,000. Okay? Now, a map scale is meant to be used, right, so that you don't need units. So I don't know if you've been asked a question in geography like, write the scale of this map, and you're like, oh yeah, it's 1 centimetre is 2,500 kilometres. But you're not allowed to write that as the map scale. You can't do it. So that's why it's always a really big number on a map scale. Alright? Because what this means is, it's one of whatever units you measure in on the map is 50,000 of those same units in real life. So for instance, if I take a map and I have 1 centimetre on the map, okay, in real life that would be 50,000 centimetres.
5 kilometers?
Pardon?
5
Oh,
kilometers?
I'll let you work that out. Okay? 1 metre on a map would be 50,000 metres. Okay? So a metre on a map would be a big map. Okay? Same with this one and so on. Right? These three are the, to do with maps, are really common questions. Right? Okay, I'll let you carry on. Alright, so just to finish this off, finish this lesson 2 minutes ago, let's just check that you're okay with question 8. So I've started off, I've written the ratio 1 to 50,000. Now, having this discussion with Kian, a ratio does not have a specific unit involved. Should be able to be used with any unit. So I've written from my start ratio of 1 to 50,000, I've got 2 centimetres, it's therefore 100,000 centimetres. Right? So that's the map, that's the real life. So I've got 1 kilometre, 1,000 metres. 100 centimetres, 1 metre. So if we start with 100,000 centimetres, if we divide by 100, we get metres, yeah? So cross a couple of them off, gives me metres, right? Divide by 1,000, well I've got 1,000, so that means 2 centimetres is 1 kilometre. You all get that?
Yes.
Right. The rest should now be quite easy because we've got 9 centimetres then. Yeah.
4.5 kilometers.
Yeah, because times 4 makes 8. We've got half, so 4.5 kilometres, and 30 centimetres is times 15, so 15 kilometres. So once you've done that first one, the rest are really easy. Alright, we will be moving on to proportion next time. Direct proportion.